Okay, I've entered into Cape Coast, and here you see the sign Cape Coast Slavery Museum Project. And here you will be able to visit with me the slave castles, or the dungeons as I like calling them. There is a website you can visit, www.slaveryfoundation.org. And again, I'm entering into the area of the slave castles where we are now standing on the other side of our slave captors. Come with me. Now we are standing on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. However, we're in Africa. All you can see is water. You won't find a lot of Africans on the beach here. Most of them find it to be cold. But that's the other side of the Atlantic. And on that other side of the Atlantic is America, where our ancestors were carried from the shores of West Africa into North America. Come, let's visit the castle, the dungeon where the slaves were held captured until they crossed. Here I'm on the outside of the slave dungeons, and this is an outside picture in Cape Coast. They yet remain standing from the 1800s. Let's go and look. Above the top of the slave castles is the Panifest advertisement for what purpose I've come here for. But I gotta let my people know they gotta pay. Okay, I'm at the gates here in the slave dungeons. I'm told I gotta pay 19 cedis, which is equivalent to $8-9 US. Okay, Famalam, we're entering into what is known as the male slave dungeon. In this dungeon is where the male slaves were kept, and of course on the other side is where females kept. Let's go inside. I hope the lighting works in our favor. And I'm going down into this dungeon, and I mean into it. And of course we have the outside light yet guiding our way. I don't know what it looks like around the corner, but I do know this. There's a feeling in here. Oh my God. Even after 400 years, on better being away from the shores of West Africa, I feel the hurt. I feel the pain. I feel the degradation. I feel the lostness, the loneliness. Where that light is shining, I believe, is the infamous door called the door of no return. But in here is where the slaves were kept until they got ready to cross to the other side in North America to make the big banks rich. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, etc. And that's why when I come here, it reminds me of reparations due to my people for the free labor that America has gotten. This is the dungeon, and it is actually a dungeon, not a castle for the slave, but a dungeon where you would keep animals, keep slaves. See the windows up above, they have iron crossings. You can't get out. Furthermore, they're too high up. That was the benevolence of the slave master, allowing a little cool breeze to come in here. This brother in here, he performs ablutions if you want them. And I think I will have a ceremony. People bring flowers and leave them here. And I'll have to find some flowers and come back and dedicate them. You perform ablution? Okay. And the brother now is going to perform a welcome home, a return to Africa. I believe it's called ablution. And that's like an African ceremony, honoring our ancestors. Amen. 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 Medasi. Here is a plaque that was dedicated by President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama, the United States of America, as they attended the slave dungeon, as I call it, on the 11th day of July, 2009. And incidentally, I was here that day as well. Again, we're outside of the slave dungeons, making our way to the door of no return. These round balls that you see here, these are actually cannonballs for cannons, ammunition that was used to ward off any opposition, any fighting toward taking slaves. These are iron balls that the Portuguese, the British, the Dutch, the Europeans used to take our ancestors away. Here are the cannons. I don't know why they're facing there. I only imagine in their selfishness of taking slaves, gold, diamond, and other valuable resources, they didn't want anybody to come that may have been opposing their operation from other European countries. Here we have the female dungeon, and here where the female slaves were kept separately. And this too is filled with sorrow and grief, degradation, despair, loneliness, feeling trapped, captured like a wild animal, maybe 8 or 9 feet up is a wall with a little hole not big enough for a body to get through, to see lights, to let air in. And finally, we're going to what is known, and I notice also they have memorials in these dungeons where flowers are left, wreaths are left for our ancestors who have traversed the Atlantic Ocean to America to be held captured, and 400 years later, we are here recording. And the words come to mind of the famous Angela Maya, "And yet I rise." And here, my people, is what they term the door of no return. And as you can see, when you exit the door of return, the only thing lies before you is the Atlantic Ocean. And there on the other side of that Atlantic Ocean is North America, the islands, Central America, South America, and so forth, where slaves were captured. And this concludes our visit to the slave dungeons, and I will now return to what they call the door of return. And there you have the door of return. But to me, just to be at the airport is my door of return. Love you much, people. One love.